Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to dive into ancient Egyptian achievements. Please control your excitement. Before we begin looking at the civilization's achievements, here are a few ground rules. I know what you're thinking. Even when I'm at home, she's trying to tell me what to do. Well, tough luck. First, you might want to pay attention while you watch the video. That means you shouldn't be trying to play League of Legends and listen to the video hoping you absorb everything like a sponge. You're a person, not a sponge. If you feel like you're zoning out, take a break. Okay, are we ready to begin? Our goal for today, we're trying to investigate the achievements of ancient Egyptians in order to create a project that showcases their significance to the development of Egyptian culture and our own society. Don't worry, it'll make more sense in the end. Just focus on taking your notes. A few tips to make your note-taking experience a success. Use Cornell note format. You guys already know this one. Make sure you use the slide headings as your subheadings on your notes. You don't have to write everything down. Just like when we close read, look for those key details and supporting evidence. If you need more time to write something down, pause the video. If you need help spelling a word, use the closed caption. Let's begin. Pencils and papers ready? Ancient Egyptians accomplished many achievements. They created paper from a plant, created a writing system that used pictures, created one of the wonders of the world, the pyramids. They also innovated farming techniques like irrigation systems that was an engineering marvel. The art monuments and the art... Let me rephrase that. Teachers get nervous too. The art monuments they created were also works of art. They were the first to have a centralized government. Let's explore these in more detail. Papyrus was a plant available around the Nile River. It was often referred to as the gift of the Nile. Papyrus had many uses in Egyptian culture. However, it is most known for its use as paper. Egyptians made paper by soaking the papyrus and mashing it into paper to make paper. Egyptians first made paper out of papyrus around 6000 BCE. Scribes were trained on oxystrata and pieces of wood because papyrus was too precious to waste. Most people who became scribes were from wealthy families. The primary purpose for making papyrus was to keep records. Egyptians kept detailed records of astronomy, engineering, and medical records. However, papyrus was also used for official documents, religious documents, and scientific manuals. That's a lot of uses for one thing. Next, with the needs to keep records, ancient Egyptians also developed their own form of writing. Ancient Egyptians developed hieroglyphics from Mesopotamian cuneiform. Hieroglyphics are a combination of letter and picture symbols. As hieroglyphics developed, there were about 800 symbols. Over the years, writing became more popular and more simplistic form of hieroglyphs developed. Demotic script was developed as a more simplistic popular form. Hieratic, encouraged by priests, hieratic script was more stylized and it was used for mostly religious purposes. However, this style of hieroglyphs was also sometimes used for private documents. Before we continue with more of those fabulous accomplishments, I want to test your knowledge by having you answer the following question. To answer this question, you must pause the video after I state the question and answer it on Google Classroom. Here's the question. Why did Egyptians use papyrus to make paper? Okay, pause the video and answer the question. Oh, cool, you're back. Let's continue. One of the most famous achievements that people still marvel at today are the pyramids of Giza. They are still an engineering marvel. Pyramids were used as a resting place for the pharaohs. The pharaohs were buried with material belongings, therefore pillaging became a problem. That means grave robbing. The first pyramid was constructed in 2667 BCE. In order to build the pyramids, they drafted farmers as a form of taxation and developed the first system of organized mass labor. During the construction of the pyramids, they needed a way to move the large pieces up, which led to the invention of a ramp system. These beautiful works of engineering are now one of the 7 wonders of the world. I want to go see them. I hope you guys do too. Let's continue. Another one of the engineering achievements were irrigation systems. Ancient Egyptians were able to predict the flooding of the Nile River, so they took advantage of it. They built dikes and canals to redirect the flow of water. Prior to this, many died during the high flood. However, with the canals, they were able to redirect the water and water the crops. In areas where the land was too high to get water through canals, they invented a lever, which was a bucket at the end of a cord in order to make sure those crops got the water they needed as well. Ancient Egyptians also kept records of flooding in order to anticipate the high flood season. They also created basins where they could reserve water. Man, Egyptians were crazy about water. Now that time has come again, it's time to test your knowledge. Remember, answering the following question, you need to do it on Google Classroom. How did the Nile flooding help ancient Egyptians? Okay, don't forget to pause the video. Hey, nice to have you back. Let's keep going. Continuing with architectural achievements, Egyptians also built many monuments. Egyptians learned to work with stone and figured out that by using ramps and levers they could move heavy objects like stone for miles. All of the Egyptian monuments were symbolic of religious or hierarchy systems. Let's just say that. For example, the obelisk. The obelisk is a 4-sided tower monument which narrows at the top. It represents the relationship between gods and people because they said that if you could build one down here, that there would be an identical one with the gods. Continuing, another example of a symbolic monument was the Karnak. The Karnak is a religious complex built and it spanned over 250 acres. Within the Karnak, there were other monuments, which made it even more complex. In order to build such great works of art, Egyptians had slave laborers who worked tirelessly to build these works of art. Nation states. Egyptians were also known for their organized government. Initially, Egypt was divided into 2 regions, Upper and Lower Egypt. However, during the rule of Pharaoh Menes, Egypt became united. Menes united Egypt by allowing the people of northern and southern Egypt to keep their own religious customs. He also established a city in the middle of Upper and Lower Egypt called Memphis, not the one in Tennessee, people, in order to centralize Egypt. Memphis was a city where the 2 regions could meet culturally. He also took the crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt and combined them, as you see in the following picture. With the unification of these 2 regions, we see the beginning of a centralized government. All right, the time has come again. Here comes another test. Remember to pause and answer the question on the Google Classroom. Here's the question. Who was responsible for unifying Egypt? This is an easy one. Okay, quickly pause the video and answer the question. Nice to have you back. Let's wrap this up. The final achievement we're going to talk about is art. Ancient Egypt is famous for their art. Pictures of pharaohs are seen in various museums. Egyptian art was meant to help the deceased in the afterlife. Egyptians, if you remember from our last lesson, prepared their deceased for the afterlife because of their love of life. Usually, the statue and painting would face a place where the religious ritual was performed. This art was not meant to be displayed. It was meant for religious and funeral purposes only. All right, so we reached the end of all of our achievements, but it's now time to talk about your project. Yay, I know you're going to have fun. You're going to take the information provided in this presentation, as well as any other notes we have on ancient Egypt, and you're going to create a Hall of Fame of achievements, like the ones we discussed. You're going to be using Scratch for this. Take your skills that you've learned in our Scratch lessons and apply them to our social studies. Within the Hall of Fame, you must discuss the key details about each of the achievements, and you have to infer the significance of it to Egyptian culture as well as our own society. I want you to incorporate your inferences within your Hall of Fame in a creative way. Now, this is our project, but I'd also like to discuss the rubric. I'm looking for you to be creative and use the information you gathered and present it in a different way. I want you to make connections between the achievements and the other features of Egyptian culture as well as our own. I honestly cannot wait to see what you've accomplished. The directions are in greater detail in the Google Classroom as well as your rubric. Good luck and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in class tomorrow. Goodbye. Actually, I have one last thing to add. All of this wonderful information came from our California World History Ancient Civilizations by Holt and Reinhard Winston. Thank you for the wonderful information. All right, boys and girls, now I truly mean have a good day. Bye.